Good to see you.
Hi. So we'll get through the boring stuff and then get to the exciting stuff, which is the crowdfunding. I actually listened to my first property speaker was Ranjan in 2009 at the Excel Center. It was the very first person I'd heard talk about property. So going back to the old days of 2009. Can everyone hear me clearly? So there are three of us individuals. We got together in 2012, and we did this little student project, our first student project. Now this one, we had to buy an office building with permission for officers, and we had to go and get planning for students, and we had to complete within 3 months with £500,000. I was supposed to be the investor with the £500,000. Of course, I had no idea where I was going to get it. So I phoned a couple of my friends, and one of them happened to be Rob, and he helped me raise £170,000, which is our first money we raised from Crowd With Us, effectively. And so this was our first project, and we flipped it on with planning to another student developer. And so we bought it for 500, sold it for 1.125, and made 450,000 profit. And that one, well, we never actually got the 500K. We used their money to complete on, so we only used £170,000 that year. So that was our first property foray. So we had no money. That 450,000 was the last time we actually made money. So that's the last time we saw cash. So 2013, we started the first 4 new projects, student developments. So there are 3 of us. We all work from home individually. We don't have staff. We don't have overheads. We don't have officers or anything. You know, we've got to keep it very lean and tight because we haven't seen money for 5 years, right? So that's basically where we are. If we just go quickly here. So that's where we are now. So we've got now 1,849 beds, student developments at the moment. We started in 2013, so it's been a 5-year wait. 710 PRS, all in the pipeline. So every one of these has either exchanged, so they're all live, or they've, so what we do, we find sites, we get planning, and then we build the project, either renovate or brand new from the ground up. Then we rent it out, and then we either live off the cash flow or we sell it on to somebody else on a yield basis. We sell it to a pension fund or an equity fund at the back end. But we always have our option. We either, if we don't sell it, it's fine, we have cash flow, okay? So we've got 2 exit strategies. So that's where we are. This is we split our project into 2 groups. This is our project that we do ourselves. So we've got £47 million worth of projects GDV value once it's all finished. So we've got £9.3 million worth of profit coming through at some point in the next year or 2. Then we've got our other section, which is with our investors. So we've got £189 million there, and we've got about £24 million worth of profit coming through there. So in total, we have £230 million worth of, let me just get out of there, and go back to the projects. So we've got £230 million worth of GDP projects, £35 million worth of profit to be realized at some point. And at the moment, this year is the first year we've actually made some money. We're actually making about £70,000 a month cash flow. So it's been a long, long wait. So let's get on to the more interesting stuff. Now, based on that, what I've just told you, basically we started with no money in 2012. We had made a little bit of money, which we've used to recycle. But this whole portfolio of £230 million worth of GDV has all been based on borrowed money. So we are quite leveraged. So we've got about £50 million plus worth of bank funding As Ranjan was saying earlier, about £12 million of private funding from private investors. So all of it, we haven't got really much money in it ourselves. So our priority is finding cash to do deals. Now, the big problem for us is these investors has taken me 10 years of hard work, networking, speaking to people, evenings, meetings, coffee shops, talk. Meantime, we've got projects to deliver, and they need our time, and we can't be spending time talking to investors all day long and going to networking events because we don't have the time. The second thing is with banks, it takes a long time to get bank funding across the line. I would say at least 3 months every time it takes us. So it's an awful lot of time spent talking to banks, giving them all the information they need. Once you start the process, give a week or two, they might come to you with an offer, and then, they want to get evaluation done, let's wait another 3 weeks for the evaluation to come, which is normally much lower than you want, and then you argue and fight. So it all takes a long time and a lot of our time. So we thought, okay, what's an easier way to do this? Crowdfunding. So I've always been arguing with Tor and Rob a little bit because I never really understood crowdfunding before. I thought, how does it work? I don't get it and all that. But anyway, last year we took the plunge about December, and the last 6 months we've sort of raised £1 million approximately with them. So now we're seriously considering using them as a much easier way to borrow the money and just get on with our job. So this is one of the projects, which basically what we did here, we bought it. So it was a live deal. And we thought, well, it's a live deal. Let's just test the crowdfunding on it. So we had the building already. And with this one, we had already bank funding on it. But what we needed to do here, we needed to raise a bit more money because we've got here a 97-bed apart hotel on top, and downstairs there's 5 big units for commercial, bars and restaurants and so on. So these tenants were all sniffing around, they want to sign up with us. So we had to get the commercial area ready for them to come into. We had to get services in and split the units and so on. So we thought, let's raise some money through crowdfunding and see if we can get it up and then spend the money on that. Because that's the next stage of the development. So that's what we've done. And because we weren't in a hurry on this, so we put in the window, and so we put a £650,000 request in here, and that will now close out next week or 2 weeks' time. So we'll have 650,000 raised through crowdfunding on here. Now, the advantages of it for us was really, because we're quite organized, I have all my documents in my Dropbox, I've got my evaluation, I've got everything there. I just sat down with Rob and Tor for 1 hour, and we thrashed it out in 1 hour. 1 hour, they had all the information they needed, and they said, yep, you can go. So I went off. They came back maybe a few days later, a week later, because with this crowdfunding stuff, it's all technical, it bores me, I'm not really too bothered, it doesn't really bother me. They came back and said, yeah, you have to do this and this and that, let's check the numbers here and there. So let's say I spent another hour a week later on it, checking the numbers and giving them a little bit more information and explaining a few things, and that was it. They got all the paperwork ready for all the investors that were coming onto the platform. They got all the paperwork ready, all the share agreements and all the debentures and what have you. I didn't have to do anything. So they had the investors sign it up online and whatever they had to do. And they told me, when you're ready, come in and sign. So I came in, signed, that was it. I didn't do anything more. So let's say... So for me, that was a really painless experience. From 3 months of hard work, dealing with surveyor, dealing with a bank, dealing with God knows who else, asking me all kinds of silly information which I don't know the answer to. 2.5 hours, the money was there. Well, the money was there, not there, but the paperwork was there. So we put a certain time period on this, 2 months or whatever it was, and we put it out to raise. So it's worked in this case. So for me, it's looking very interesting. Now, in this particular case, we already had a bank in play, and we were just raising additional finance here. So what we did here, we said, right, in this particular case, the big question here is when we're doing our other projects, we're using JV partner investors or loans from investors, but they're expensive. They're charging us an arm and a leg, and they want a profit share and this and that, so it costs us a lot of money. All these projects there, we're only going to get to see half of it. The rest of it goes to the investors for doing nothing, right? But for crowdfunding, it's a lot more sensible, right? So like this one, for example, we did a loan note, a sensible interest rate, whatever it is, 8%, whatever it is, sensible interest rate, wow, a lot cheaper. So for us, a lot cheaper, took me 2.5 hours, and it only cost me 8, 9%, whatever it is I'm paying on this one. Ooh, much better. So all of a sudden, my profits have jumped 50%, and my time has dropped 70%. So, well, crowdfunding is starting to look interesting. So, this one is going to close out in the next 2-3 weeks, but the money has been signed off. The last few investors have signed up and everything, the money is en route. Now, we're going to probably raise, to do this build out, we need to raise £12 million. We're probably going to try and do some of it through crowdfunding. We need to raise £5 million. We'll start doing it in tranches through the crowdfunding platform coming up in a few months. You can look on the website and see what comes up. So let's see how that goes with this one. Let me just see. Dover Street, that's another project we're doing. And again, this is a student development, 135 beds. And this was already in the middle of the development cycle. So we're finishing this in September. December, January, we had a few issues, and the development program was running over. So the bank said, right, we'll give you X amount, 5 million. And the builder said, well, there's a bit of issues here. There's a couple of issues here. We're running over. We need an extra £100,000. So, well, let's test it on the crowdfunding platform. So we went onto the crowdfunding platform, raised £100,000 in a few weeks, really. And again, it took me 1 hour. The money was there, boom, done. So, interesting thing is, with the crowdfunding, I'm always worried about, okay, the people from the crowdfunding platform, what security do they have? Because my equity investors, they're always banging on about security, security, security. What if the property prices fall? What happens? I'm sick of those questions. So basically, the crowdfunding people, they have to be advised by the crowdfunding staff, Tor and Rob. They have to satisfy the FCA that they've checked out that there's good enough value in the building, in the property, that there's enough equity, and if anything goes wrong, these are the different get-out clauses. So that's all done for the investors. So they go and give all the information that I've given them, they give it to the investors, and the investors can ask them questions online or directly if they have to. I don't need to get involved. So the next thing was, okay, because they're behind the bank, no problem, because they're getting a debenture on me, on our company. When they're investing with us, they're getting a charge, and they've got me to sign a personal guarantee. Same as with a high street lender. Even my normal investors don't get PG from me. Yeah, so the crowdfunding guys have got more security than they have. So, well, where's the harm, really? So the other advantage where we look at it as well is sometimes, let's say the property is worth $1 million, and the bank have 600,000 of it, there's 400,000 equity in it. So we want the 400,000, but our investors will always come in and say, no, we'll give you 200, we want 200,000 equity at the back end. Now, we know that that property, which is worth 1 million now, when we finish the development, will be worth 8 million. So we know there's 7 million of equity coming at the back end, and we know the profit on that is 1.5 million. So the real equity is 1.5 million, let's say on this one, 1.5 million. We know the profit is there, because we know we're going to finish it. So for crowdfunding, right, if Tor and Rob and whoever checks all the data, they can see, they look at the whole project, and they say, look, there's enough security in it because there's 1.5 million profit at the back end, which is your security. Maybe with the crowdfunding, we can go as much as 90% of the GDV or something like that. So we can take a view on those things as well. So those are things, that decisions which are made for the crowdfunding investors by sensible people who know the property game. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. It takes a lot of explaining out of it for me as well. So yes, from being a skeptic initially, I didn't really understand the property crowdfunding model. I now see the benefits of using them. So going forward, I would actually start considering now using them as first charge lenders when I go in to buy a deal instead of using a bank. So what we're going to think about doing now is we go and exchange with 10%, because you want the deal to be live. You don't want to waste anyone's time. So we'll go and exchange with 10%, go to crowdfunding, get in there, 1 hour. Let's say it takes 2-3 months to raise the money. We have to wait 3 months anyway for the bank, don't we? And then we don't have all this paperwork and all these, it's very difficult getting bank financing across the line, very, very difficult. So we will start using it for first charge lending as well, going forward, just to make our lives easier, because all that time I save fighting with the banks, I could be delivering the project. We can make a lot more money. Well, that's it really.